Okay, good afternoon. I want to call the September Capital Program meeting to order. Ms. King, members of the public signed up to speak?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. We have 4 members of the public registered to speak today. We have 2 in person and 2 remote.
Okay.
As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA rules of decorum and conduct. I would also like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit you to 2 minutes. Please be aware, there will be a warning beep to remind you you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker will be Jason Anthony, followed by Alita Dupree. Sorry.
Hey, Jano. Hey, Jamie.
Mr. Anthony?
Here again. Let's talk about accessibility. As you guys know, 149th Street on the Penn line got an elevator that happens to be on my favorite line. That's the 6. Jamie, let's have Whitehall Street on the R&W have an elevator because the one is accessible, but Whitehall Street is not. Let's have the entire Whitehall Street South Ferry complex fully accessible for once and for all. But I'll say, and I'll remind to my fellow disability advocates, the MTA is doing this because we need elevators. And I know, rest for sure, we are doing it all right. But you guys need to beg your elected officials to collaborate with the MTA. And not only that, we need congestion pricing, and we need all regional agencies to pay their fair share also, because it's not only the MTA, it's across the region. So with that in mind, Jano and Jamie, I'll see you guys in finance.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Jack Nierenberg, following him, Charleston D'Souza.
Hello, can you hear me? All right, good afternoon. I'm Jack Nierenberg. I'm the Vice President of Passengers United, and I need to bring up a serious concern that we have. We've seen 3 derailments on the Long Island Railroad in the same region in the last few months. On August 3rd, we saw the major one where all of the cars on the train derailed, and more recently on December 7th with a work train. These are very serious. People could have died. Derailments should not be happening. And none of these trains were going above the posted speed limits. And investigations have found that these were the results of switch issues. And analysis from our team shows that these switches are relatively new. What's going on? The public needs answers. Why are these derailments happening? And what is the MTA doing to make sure that this does not happen again? Because people's lives are in danger. And we have these grave concerns because of these. If you want to build the trust of the ridership back, these answers need to be public for the ridership, and there needs to be action. What's going on? It's not good. So please, we implore the MTA, really take action on this issue immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we have Charlton D'Souza, we'll have Alita Dupree. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Jano Lieber and members. Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Folds. I made it. It's good to be back here. Thank you for the welcome. Capital is essential. I remember one of you mentioned about this is $1 trillion asset, at least. And I think a 5% rule of investing in this system. And how do we get the wherewithal that it takes to keep up with this system and to build it out in this still evolving city that New York is? Considering the work of Daniel Lawrence Turner, who served the city of New York in the very early part of the last century, pre-1940 unification, and drew up conceptual plans for a rapid transit system that is far more extensive than what we have today. Most never made it past the drawing boards. But I was on the East Side, around the 20s and 30s, 2nd Avenue area, and traveling through as a pedestrian on the buses, I think, there's two things we really need: congestion pricing and a full-length 2nd Avenue subway. These things I hope to see. And I've been doing a lot of stair climbing, climbing to the top of Woodside, and I'm losing some weight. My pants are getting loose, but not everybody can do that. So I am cognizant of the need for these elevators to make the system more accessible, because this system is about full participation. More participation is more presence, and I thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Charlton D'Souza.
Good afternoon, everyone. Charlton D'Souza, President of Passengers United. Yet again, we've had 3 major derailments on the Long Island Railroad, and this is deeply concerning. We hope the new president, Rob Freeman, or Rob Free, will, get the job done, and that he will, work with the stakeholders and work with us and help us and, learn what our concerns are, because I think that's what's needed in the Long Island Railroad right now is communication. We also hope the Hollis station will be on Rob Free's priority list to get that station rebuilt, and also to add more service for Queen stations. We hope to have trains running every 30 minutes during rush hour, and, or even more than that, obviously. But I mean, off-peak, late night, weekends, there should be trains running every 30 minutes. And we hope that the weekly city ticket will also be put back, and the Atlantic discounts will also be put back as well. Because right now, a lot of people are not using it because they have to pay $2 more during rush hour instead of $5 to Brooklyn, as it was before. And yeah, the railroad just needs a lot of work. In terms of the Queens Boulevard line track work, they've been working on the CBTC system there now for the last 10 years. What is going on? Why are we stuck on trains for 30 minutes between stations? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's taking people 2 hours and 45 minutes to get home at night. We deserve answers on the Queens Boulevard line. How long is the CBTC project going to take? And why can they add an extra bus on the Q60 so we don't have to sit in those subway delays? We can just get on the Q60, get there in like 30 minutes to Jamaica. We need relief in Southeast Queens because the travel times are taking us too long. Thank you so much and have a nice day.
Thank you. Chair, that concludes the public comment session.
Okay, thanks, Ms. King. Copies of the July Capital Program Committee minutes have been distributed and are available on the website. Any changes or comments to the minutes at this time? May I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Can you get a second? Mr. Rizzo, second. All in favor? Any opposition? The minutes are approved. Changes to the work plan.
Yes, Chair, staff are proposing a revision to the upcoming work plan to incorporate quarterly presentations on important agency-wide priority initiatives, beginning with our 20-year needs assessment at next month's committee meeting.
Okay. Now I need a motion to approve the changes to the work plan. Have folks aware of that? Okay.
So I guess we're voting on the way we're going to
Yeah,
accept
the-
the capital stuff. Okay, so
yeah.
I move it.
Second, Mr. Chu, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or abstention? The changes to the work plan are approved.
Thank you.
Jamie, President's report.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good to be back at the Capital Program Committee. Lots of news to update you on and information to present today before we get to our presentation from our Stations Business Unit. Over the summer, we made a lot of progress on our critical programs. We announced the first of our Omni Tap and Go subscribers coming online as we brought the Roosevelt Island tram onto the Omni system. It was a very exciting moment. Look out for additional subscribers coming online soon. As we've noted publicly, we're hard at work to bring our friends at Port Authority with the air train onto Omni in the very near future. Earlier today in Transit Committee, we heard from Jesse Lazarus here at the MTA on the status of Omni adoption efforts and the rollout of some of our additional technology and project improvements. We're moving along very smoothly, having brought the Omni program over for execution to C&D. We're going to be bringing the new OmniCard vending machines online in the subway system very soon, as Jesse noted, and we have a great new mega project team running this work with great collaboration with our operating agencies as we make what are pretty complicated changes in our system. So more to come on that. I always say we have three priorities at C&D: getting the work done, building up a new organization that has high capacity to deliver better, faster, and cheaper, and performing long-term planning functions as the MTA continues to fulfill a vision of the future of this region. In that latter category, we anticipate release of our 20-year needs assessment in October, and we'll be briefing the board and members of the public very soon on that, and we'll be back for a special session on that at the October CPC meeting. The 20-year needs assessment is a very important planning document. It enables us to put together the next 5-year capital program by late 2024 to bring to this committee and full board for consideration and approval. As we often describe, we have an aging asset that requires a focus on state of good repair so we can keep running quality on-time service to meet evolving customer needs. And we have to do that in an age of climate change and other changing factors. So the 20-year needs assessment gets into rigor and detail about how to do that. So more coming soon in briefings that we'll be doing. I did want to note, Chair, that Penn Reconstruction continues to move forward. We're in the preliminary design stages, preliminary engineering, which is a significant effort to get to what we describe as 30% design. Last week, the chair and I joined a press conference with local elected officials to emphasize the importance of getting to a quality 8th Avenue entrance as part of Penn Reconstruction, and signaled that we're exploring and we're open to a range of options that we're considering as we work our way through design. And that is moving on full tilt. We'll have more updates to provide you with. We're also heading into a stakeholder engagement phase on Penn Reconstruction. As we stated last week, it begins with some reporting on analysis that's been done about options for through running that's been led by our partner railroad, Amtrak. And Amtrak will be presenting on some of those results at stakeholder engagement coming up in the next few weeks. And we'll be moving through that stakeholder engagement as we begin the environmental review process in coordination with design and coming to the community and stakeholders with various topics to discuss as we advance this very important project. I was speaking earlier about climate change. We take our responsibilities very seriously as the driver of greenhouse gas emission reductions in this region. We talk a lot about the importance of the MTA's role in implementing congestion pricing as part of that mission. But let's not forget that the MTA on its own is responsible for 20 million net tons of avoided greenhouse gas emissions by keeping cars off the roads, supporting transit-oriented development, and the like. But we're not resting on our laurels. You can see our total impact on the region on the left side of the slide, but as it shows on the right side, in the spring, we committed to reducing our remaining operational emissions by 85% by 2040, which I'm proud is faster than the mandate that the governor has given to state government agencies. A big part of that work is the commitment to getting to a zero emissions bus fleet by 2040. no small feat given our 6,000 buses across the 5 boroughs, where we have single bus routes on their own that are the size of Sacramento's whole transit system. I'm pleased that Jamaica Bus Depot is under construction after being awarded last year. We'll have more updates to provide on that soon. The board in July approved a great public-private development collaboration at Gun Hill Road in the Bronx, where our designated developer, Madison, will be delivering over 200 charging-ready bus stalls next to Gun Hill Depot, along with a flex industrial project, and I emphasize this, at no cost to the MTA. We're also on track to award the first phase of retrofits on 5 bus depots across the city this year, which will support the first major order of 470 electric buses that the Department of Buses also expects to award this year. And I'm pleased to announce this Climate Week that the MTA is moving aggressively into the era of clean construction. Our $55 billion 5-year capital program and the future capital programs can be a huge market maker for clean construction, supporting everything from electrification of construction vehicles to reduction and recycling of construction waste to low-carbon concrete. By the end of this year, we will publish a clean construction program as part of our climate action plan. We've already taken the first step by requiring reporting on construction-related embodied carbon with all contracts that we award as of next month. And we'll be convening a major industry event, you can see here, on October 16th to ensure we're developing practical requirements as part of this program. My expectation is the MTA's program will continue to bring down construction costs while also reducing greenhouse gas emissions from our work. Speaking of cost containment, those efforts have continued apace this year, and we'll continue to report to the board about successes. This month, the Finance Committee is being asked to approve an additional placement of our owner-controlled insurance program that covers a significant portion, over $8 billion, of the rest of this 5-year capital program. Last year, we reported that we had adopted a series of reforms to achieve savings on our 2022 placement. With the 2023 placement, as you can see here, by making sure we've adopted C&D-wide safety practices and aggressively communicating them to the industry, as well as reforming some of our insurance practices, we can now say that we have saved nearly $400 million in insurance premiums just in this $55 billion capital program alone. So this is a significant accomplishment. There are many players involved in this who we have to thank. We had some external advice on this. Tim Mulligan's group took the lead on this within C&D, but with a ton of support from Evan Iceland and the procurement group, as well as folks in my office, and then the risk management folks here in the CFO's office. It's an accomplishment across the whole MTA, and that kind of savings gives us the real opportunity to reinvest those savings in the rest of the program. So we're very pleased about that. I know insurance is not always the most exciting thing, but when we save $400 million on insurance, it is very exciting. Turning to this month's business unit report, a core value of this administration of the MTA, and one that we've locked in for the future, is accessibility across the system. And we're not shy about touting that we're doing this difficult work of ADA station upgrades at an enormously accelerated pace. You'll hear a more comprehensive presentation at the board on Wednesday from myself and Camilo Arroyo, but here you can see that we've gone from 4 stations a year in the 30 years leading up to 2020 to almost 10 a year since 2020, which is a huge increase and one that we plan to continue. The completions are coming. Since the committee last met, we opened Grand Street on the L line, fully ADA accessible, as was mentioned earlier. Last week, East 149th Street on the 6th line, and we have 7 more fully accessible stations to come this year. And although we're deeply committed to getting this work done on time, in a timely way, we're also very focused on cost containment. And I'm proud to tell the board today that we will not award the 168th Street Station ADA project as originally planned this year, because we've taken some extra time to value engineer or figure out the best way to execute, making improvements to this complex deep station in the heart of a neighborhood and a critical healthcare district at the center of Columbia Presbyterian. In a nutshell, the initial plans that we had would have required a new elevator shaft be drilling deep down into hard rock, again into a deep station, But as the design progressed, it became clear that this would be massively expensive, maybe the most expensive station that we could build in the entire system for ADA accessibility. So we went through a value engineering exercise led by our stations group in coordination with our chief engineer, Matt Best, who reports to Tim Mulligan. And through that exercise, we were able to identify an alternate path, reusing an existing underutilized ventilation shaft that was already in the station, and we expect that's going to save $100 million compared to earlier estimates. It's very big. The new design requires a bit more time to complete, but this is the sort of innovative thinking that C&D was created to deliver, and we're very proud that we're taking the time to do that. With that, I want to turn things over to Bill Montanili, the head of our stations business unit, to give a report on progress on stations.
Thank you, Jamie. Good afternoon, Chairman Lieber and fellow board members. My name is Bill Montanili, and I am the Senior Vice President of the Stations Business Unit. I am here to provide an update on the Stations program. Today, I will provide an overview of the program since we last met in February. I will provide a brief look at our accomplishments and upcoming goals. I'll also report on the positive effects that the combination of bundling and alternative delivery methods have on the work the business unit is delivering. Finally, I'll provide some specific project highlights. We are currently managing 219 active projects, 96 of which are in construction, with a budget totaling approximately $11 billion across multiple capital programs. With our bundling efforts, these 219 projects translate into 74 contracts. A little over half our program, $6 billion, is made up of projects to expand station accessibility. The remaining work consists mainly of state-of-good repair projects, including replacement of elevators, escalators, and other station components. Just a reminder of the historic $5.2 billion investment in accessibility upgrades included in the 2020 to 2024 capital program. 67 stations, more than double as many as the previous capital program. This chart depicts a two-year comparison of station accessibility. The success of bundling of work earlier in this capital program can be seen in the significant ramp-up in ADA accessible stations. Under this capital program, 22 stations have been made accessible since 2020, with 7 more, as Jamie mentioned, planned 7 more planned completions this year. And we're still accelerating. With the recent opening of 5 new ADA stations, construction continues at 29 stations throughout the boroughs. We'll open 7 more before the end of the year and add another 11 in 2024. Sorry about that. Previously, we have discussed innovative ideas such as design, build, and bundling on separate slides. While there are many factors that play into how quickly a station can be made accessible, these 2 innovations have had the greatest impact on delivering accessible stations. For example, ADA Package 2 delivered 2 accessible stations 18 months after award. This includes design, permitting, construction, and commissioning activities. Different construction methods played a key role in the short turnaround at the 8th Avenue station. Here, the elevator shaft was constructed off-site and then placed into position by a crane, shortening the construction duration and improving the quality of the construction. And we've learned a lot, which we are incorporating into upcoming awards. Larger contracts with multiple stations can drain the resources of in-house personnel and smaller subcontractors. To meet aggressive schedules, multiple subs can be dedicated to certain stations rather than the entire contract. Internally, processes are being reviewed to avoid duplicative work. The sheer quantity of elevators was stretching the resources of the installers we consistently see on our projects. However, the bundling of many elevators into a single contract has attracted a new elevator to the MTA family. And finally, accessibility work and state-of-good repair work will be bundled together in the same contract to minimize construction impacts to our customers. Other significant investments include our continued responsibility to bring stations up to a state of good repair. Work typically includes elevator and escalator replacements, concrete repairs of the platform, floor, walls, and ceiling of the station, and structural steel and canopy repairs. Water is the enemy of a station, so repair work includes finding and repairing the underlying cause of the leak. Our first project highlight is actually a group of separate projects being managed as if they were one. Following the successful completion of our 42nd Street Shuttle Connection project completed last year on time and on budget, our work along the 42nd Street Midtown Corridor continues, with several major projects to improve circulation for our customers at Grand Central on the 7 line, 456 Lexington line, and accessible upgrades at Bryant Park. As part of these improvements, we are well underway at Grand Central with state of good repair and escalator replacement work, which when completed will include the following: more reliable escalator service with less maintenance, improved lighting, customer info, ceilings, and architectural finishes, wider platform stairs for safer and improved passenger flow, and new ventilators to reduce water infiltration and improve air circulation. In addition, the Grand Central 42nd Street Circulation Improvement Project is currently mobilized to start construction and will include a new staircase and expanded passageway for better customer flow and accommodate future ridership growth. Some of the major improvements include the passageway extension, new platform stairs and state of good repair work at the 7 platform, and also wider stairs to the 4, 5, and 6 train platform. Although not part of the 42nd Street Corridor project, I want to give a quick look at what's happening at the other end of the 7 line. At the Flushing Main Street station, existing stairs are being rehabilitated and new stairs are being installed to increase customer capacity. When completed this year, 8 new stairs will be added to the station and 4 existing stairs will be brought up to a state of good repair. The project is currently trending under budget. The next project provides accessibility at a busy station complex in the Bronx. The 149th Street Grand Concourse station serving the 2, 4, and 5 trains, as well as the Tremont Avenue station serving the B and D trains. The project remains on budget, but continues to be challenged by an underperforming contractor. While the ADA work at Tremont Avenue is scheduled for completion this month, the work at the 149th Street Grand Concourse complex was delayed to the 3rd quarter of 2024 due to a scope change identified during construction, the addition of an area of refuge at the complex, and delayed fabrication of steel for the historic head house. To mitigate further delays, we are expediting the negotiations of the additional area of refuge work and meeting with the contractor and electrical subcontractor to address long lead items associated with the delivery of electrical and communication equipment at the station. ADA Package 1 will provide accessibility at 8 stations across the 5 boroughs, with 18 new elevators. 3 of the 8 stations are ADA accessible, with the remaining stations scheduled to be completed by the end of this year. The project continues to trend under budget, thanks to a favorable bid and strong project management. I'd like to share a success story from this project. This was the first MTA project for a new elevator manufacturer and installer, and after a bumpy start, they significantly increased their resources to quickly address and resolve issues to perform work at multiple stations simultaneously. This photo is the latest accessible station to open, the East 149th Street station, which was placed in service this past Friday. ADA Package 2 will add 11 new elevators, making 6 new stations accessible. The project also includes replacement of elevators at 2 stations and additional state of good repair work at 1 station. The project is currently progressing on schedule and within budget, with 2 accessible stations, Court Square and 8th Avenue in service, and a third station, 181st Street, to be made accessible by the end of this year. The final highlight today is the ADA project at the 68th Street Hunter College Station, the last of the 100 key stations to be awarded. Key stations were identified in 1994 as stations where accessibility would have the most benefit for our customers, factoring in ridership, transfers between lines, and nearby major activity centers. After more than a decade-long and arduous journey satisfying adjacent property owners and finalizing property acquisition and access agreements with the Imperial House, a major milestone was achieved earlier this year in March, with the opening of a new street-level subway entrance constructed within the property acquired from the Imperial House on Lexington Avenue between 68th and 69th Streets. The project is progressing well within budget and is on target for a completion in December 2024. That concludes the stations report. I'll take any questions after the IEC reports.
Thank you, Bill. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Mark Saluka, and I will be giving the IEC's review of the station's business unit. Our station summary report can be found on page 17 of your committee book. It highlights the IEC's analysis of station projects in the traffic light, as well as our detailed monitoring of accessibility and station renewal projects. The majority of the station projects are on budget and on schedule, and this is largely due to the implementation of lessons learned, greater pre-design planning, and a well-managed risk assessment process that identifies programmatic risks and develops effective mitigations and management tools. Historically, the station's program has managed costs well, and the majority of station projects will finish within budget, and no projects have incurred budget overruns during this reporting period. In our report, the IEC highlights actions undertaken which have benefited current projects. At 68th Street Hunter College, the project improved their elevator place and service dates by maximizing the use of track outage opportunities and obtaining more work shifts from contractors. Also at 68th Street, early outreach efforts by C&D to obtain signed utility agreements has resulted in improved coordination between the design builder and the utilities. The difficult process of scheduling construction activities and third-party support work has seen improvement on recent projects with utility agreements in place. Also, C&D has implemented a new fault detection system to address elevator equipment issues on ADA packages 1 and 2, which are being incorporated into upcoming elevator projects to improve performance. The IEC also recognizes that challenges have impacted the successful delivery of accessibility projects. The IEC notes that 149th Street, Tremont Avenue, is reporting an 8-month delay since our last report in February. 149th Street and ADA Package 1 have been affected by the availability and capabilities of their contractors and subcontractors to support existing construction work. Both projects have pending time extension requests, and this may further impact their delays. And C&D's plan to increase project awards in 2024 may further strain the limited local pool of trained professionals and elevator specialists. However, the IEC does note, and as Bill highlighted in the station's report, C&D has been taking actions to address these challenges. They include the introduction of a variety of design build, bundling, and award options, also offering the long-term elevator maintenance contracts that have attracted other bidders and a prominent elevator installer. And C&D is contemplating the use of multiple elevator subcontractors on larger awards to minimize the strain on the industry and enable contractors to ramp up resources when necessary. In addition, the level of support from MTA user groups will also need to be increased to accommodate future demands. The station's business unit and MTA user groups are improving in-house coordination and tracking upcoming elevator place and service dates to manage their resources and help plan future support requirements. Moving forward, the IEC will continue to expand our monitoring of the station's program and track the implementation and results of these innovative approaches. Lastly, The IEC also monitors the station's program through the quarterly traffic light report. The traffic light report can be found in your committee book, beginning on page 45. With the traffic light, the IEC monitors station renewals, elevator, escalator, and component replacement projects, and state of good repair work for station projects in design and construction. And these projects account for just over $10 billion of the MTA's capital program. This quarter, 108 station projects were reviewed by the IEC for schedule and cost adherence. 4 projects triggered a schedule variance, and notably, no station project has a cost variance. And this concludes the IEC review of the station's program.
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. 100 projects reviewed, correct, sir?
4.
You heard that correct.
Score
No
has
station
schedule,
project has a cost variance.
and no
this quarter.
station project has a cost variance. That's where we want to be, folks. That's where we want to be. This is important, so don't want to glide after it, not, although everybody's got that post-lunch malaise. Mr. Alpert.
Jamie, I'd like to ask you something that you said in your opening remarks before we go on, because I'll forget if I don't ask it now. Does the acceptance of Omni at AirTrain portend the acceptance of Omni at PATH stations?
I can't speak to the acceptance of Omni at PATH stations. The MTA is working with the Port Authority on the acceptance of Omni at AirTrain.
Okay, and I'm asking because...
Listen, I think we all know that the Port Authority announced that they had elected to go with a tap and go system similar to Omni, but their own version or bespoke version. We don't know where they are on that trajectory right now, honestly. That's what I was told. So
All right.
just
Since they use Cubic on PATH as
they
well.
are
I-
using
yeah,
Cubic,
yeah.
and they're doing something very similar, but we don't know exactly where that program stands. But getting Omni into use, albeit in sort of slightly interim manner on AirTrain, I think is an important milestone. Those of us who go to Jamaica regularly see that, you know, there's the MetroCard vending system is struggling to manage the increased flow of travelers. And it'll be good news when people can just tap and go through. That's what folks from Europe especially are accustomed to. So that is it. What?
Yes.
At Howard Beach as well.
Yes.
Okay. Listen, you know, again, I just want to underscore it. This is the capital program. We're talking about, we're spending $55 billion. What we're going to be talking about in this is what our friends from the IC are here to make sure we're doing effectively, which is cost and schedule, cost and schedule. And we're going to talk about it every month until everybody's eyes glaze over, because that is what an effective capital program does. It's why that better, faster, cheaper motto came into being. So, what else? All right, I want to give folks an opportunity. There's a lot of material covered here, albeit pretty efficiently. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all right. Tomorrow we're going to be out in Staten Island opening another ADA station. We're going to get another 5 or 6 done by the end of the year. This is we're starting to see the results of a pretty passionate team on this mission. So I just want to compliment Bill and everybody who works, Mark Roche and everybody who works so hard on making sure that we are able to make good on this promise vis-a-vis accessibility. So thank you. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Ms. Lopez, for the second. And
Procurements. Yes.
I always screw up the
Move on to
logistics.
procurements. Yes.
The lunch malaise got to me. You got it.
Mr. Iceland.
Mr. Iceland.
Procurements.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. I'll try to be quick. Construction and Development is presenting 6 procurement actions totaling $438.3 million to the Capital Program Committee for approval this month. The procurement package includes 2 competitive actions. First is a request to approve a new award for independent safety consultant services for bridges and tunnels capital program projects. And second, a request to approve a modification to extend the term and increase the aggregate budget for a panel of contracts to continue providing consultant construction management and inspection services. The package also includes the following 4 ratifications. A request to ratify a modification to a contract that provided for manual operation of the tunnel ventilation system in support of Long Island Railroad training operations. A request to ratify a modification to a contract to install jet grout columns and micropiles to support excavation beneath the corner of Forsyth and Delancey Streets in Manhattan. And finally, requests to ratify 2 modifications to continue interim maintenance for elevators, escalators, and other assets at Grand Central Madison. These items are described in detail in the staff summaries contained within your committee books, and I hereby submit them for your consideration and vote.
Questions or can I just
And-
first of all have a motion?
I'll take them.
Motion,
And
second, Mr. Zuckerman. There's a motion. Questions or comments?
I have a question. The modifications just add time to the contracts?
There are 2. One is a new contract for inspection services for B&T, and the other will just extend our CCMIQ contract series so that we can continue to use it until we put a new one into place.
Okay, but if it's a new contract, why is it a modification? Or it's extension of the contract? Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or abstention? The motion, the procurements are approved. With that, I'll take the motion to adjourn. I think I had momentarily from Ms. Lopez and Ms. Mahaltzis. Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposition? We are adjourned.